Who does not have a bright future in the SEC with the rest of the season coming? Winners and losers from this weekend in SEC play coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It was a fun weekend in SEC play. Oklahoma got to kind of sit back and relax after their 11 a.m. kick. Jay, who was one of your winners of the weekend in SEC play?
South Carolina, man. At home, they're 5-3. I remember coming into the season, the question was Shane Beamer going to keep his job? You know, his career there at South Carolina had not been the best, but he's starting off 5-3 and 3-3 in SEC play. So they've been knocking off some teams that kind of shocked us. And then when Texas A&M came into town, I saw that Texas A&M was like a 2.5 point favorite on the road. I was like, that feels low for as good as Texas A&M has been playing. And boom, sure enough, it was a little bit on the bad side. And so now you're seeing them ball out. They're playing good football. They're playing really good football. Lenore Sellers is okay. He's not the greatest. He's not the worst. But he played really good ball against A&M in that game. And also A&M just struggled with their pass game just in general. They've just been out-muscling everybody. Second half, South Carolina held them to no points. So you go in tied 20-20 at the half. You feel good that you kept it close. And then they just took over. They did everything possible to make things tough for Marcel Reed. And I think South Carolina's got a very bright future. They're still very young, all right? They're one of the teams similar to like Tennessee that we talked about, including us. Very young offenses, but their defense is what's super stout, and it seems like it's getting better and better as the weeks have continued. I think they have the best defensive line in the SEC right now.
It looks like it. From the inside out, they're really, really good. I was really impressed by Lenore Sellers' speed. It really kind of surprised me. I know he's a big dude, and I know he can break tackles and he can get, through people, but he ran away from some folks in that game. And I was very, very impressed by that. South Carolina had 2 losses to Alabama and LSU by a combined 5 points. Just a play here, a play there. They could be 7-1. Had the blowout loss to Ole Miss, where they got beat 27-3 at home. And obviously that's a disappointing result for them. But this is a really, really good football team with a bright, bright future. One of the winners of the week for me, Vanderbilt, man, they continue to just like the Clark Lee era. It did not start off great
at all,
but they made a good offensive coordinator hire. How important is that offensive coordinator hire? Got Diego Pavia from the transfer portal, and now they're going bowling for the first time since 2018. Clark Lee at his alma mater is able to bring some success. Dude, that's such a great story in college football. It's like when Kansas started turning it around, right? You enjoyed having the easy win on your schedule for Kansas when you were in the Big 12. At the same time, how can you not be romantic about college football and seeing these teams that are just at the bottom of the basement in your conference find some success? Now, you hate it if you're Auburn, you hate it if you're Alabama, because those games were easy wins for you on the schedule, and now they're not. But dude, for Clark Lee and Vandy, that's huge, man. Love it for them.
Massive. And it's funny because a lot of people have talked about how they want parity in college football. They want it to be, across the line, everybody have the chance. When they actually mean they just want their team to have a chance. They don't care about anybody else. So many people are just not that happy that Vanderbilt is 6-3. They're already bowl eligible.
Yeah.
Bananas. They surpassed their 3-win total very quickly. A lot of people did not expect them to have a 3-win total, get 3 wins. They've gone past it. Clark Lee is not going to lose his job now. That man's going to probably get an extension because of this season. Mm-hmm. Even if it doesn't amount to anything long-term, he's going to get an extension. They're bowl eligible, and they're playing like you said, they're playing really good football. I don't know how many years Diego Pavia have left in his career. I think is he a redshirt senior now? I think he is. Let me verify really quick. Do it on the Google machine while we're sitting here. He is a senior, and no, he's probably, I think he had, well, yeah, he's done. This is his last season, but yeah, he has done look, I'm impressed with him by the fact that he's 3-0 against Hugh Freeze. That is crazy to me to hear players 3-0, and he's only been at Vanderbilt for 1 season.
Hugh Freeze is going to be having nightmares of Diego Pavia for the rest of his life because this might cost him his job. Loss to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it probably should be an evaluation at this point, because there's no way you should have lost to the same dude 3 times when you've seen him 3 different times.
Yeah, just absolutely nuts. Hey, and I want to give it to our guy Josh Heupel out at Tennessee too, because they just keep winning, man. They're not winning big. They're not collecting a ton of style points when they win football games, but they're just finding ways to win. It's crazy to see. You know, he's done a really good job designing an offense to help his young freshman or not freshman. I guess he's a freshman.
Yeah, he's a redshirt freshman. Yeah,
redshirt freshman quarterback along, and it's working.
It is. It really is. And Nico had one of his better outputs in this game. He threw for 292 yards, 1 touchdown, but he hasn't put up very many stats on the offensive side. It's all been Dylan Sampson, who's at 142 yards rushing in that game. You don't get a lot of output in the pass game, and it's all because the quarterback's young. I said this before the season started. Nico is young, and that was kind of one of the things I thought was beneficial for Oklahoma when we faced them. Is their offense is young, and they're very dependent on their run game. I mean, technically, you get those 2 turnovers and you actually score with them, or don't give them right back, you might win that game. Mm-hmm. Nico's going to need time to develop, but he's going to be a problem long term. Like, he has the throws that you can make, but he's a redshirt freshman. I didn't expect him to go out there and just light up college football year one. I expect him to be effective. And overall, he has been. He's been consistent in his play. He just hasn't been like elite, like everyone believed he would be. He's still young. Nico Iamaleava's got time. He's going to go out there and ball. And the longer he's in Josh Heupel's system, the more of a pain in the butt he's going to be. Going to Knoxville next season, it's not going to be fun playing against Tennessee at all. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. I need to know why we're not getting more Dylan Sampson Heisman talk. The guy's got 19 touchdowns this season.
Yeah, he needs to be. I think it's because he hasn't cracked 1,000 yards yet, but still, he probably needs to be in conversation with. It's a lot.
Like, if we're putting Ashton Jeanty in it, like, we need to consider putting Dylan Sampson in the conversation, because he has been their offense for this season against SEC competition, against an NC State team in the ACC. Like, he's played really good ball all year long for a team that's right there on the cusp of being a top 5 football team in the nation. All right, loser of the week, Jay.
Florida. They gave it to Georgia, and then they lost their starting quarterback in DJ Lagway. Yep. That hurts. That hurts.
I was going to give Billy Napier a little honorable mention there for making that competitive.
I was thinking about that as well. Right. I was thinking about that, but yeah, you go into the half up 13-6. Yeah. That is crazy to me. I did not expect Florida to go out there and fight like that. But then when Lagway goes down, in which we don't know how long he's down, supposedly I saw a tweet go out that the injury isn't as bad as they expected. So Billy Napier is pretty confident they'll get him back this season. Mm-hmm. You had a chance of upsetting Georgia at your big neutral site game, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, or whatever they call it now. They had to change it, adult beverage event or something like that. But I digress.
Never.
You had a good chance of doing something, and all you needed was a competent offense. And unfortunately, in the second half, your offense couldn't be competent because you lost Lagway, who was really terrorizing that Georgia defense. Mm-hmm. Like, he showed that Georgia defense is not they're not impenetrable. He was out there cooking. Got to give it to the true freshman for that. So to me, they're one of them, and of course, the other one, has to be. I mean, besides Auburn, it's got to be Arkansas. Like, what the heck was that? 35-10 at the half, and you've been balling. Like, you beat Tennessee at home. Mm-hmm. You were in Fayetteville. You were playing good ball at the crib. And then instead of it being 34-10 like it was against LSU, instead it's 35-10 at the half, and you lose 63-31.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart, they were on one. They had something they wanted to prove in that game. I think the way that some of these games have gone for them, playing close games, the close loss to LSU, being down at halftime against Oklahoma, I think they flipped the switch a little bit, and that's going to be a scary team the rest of the way. And they've got to get all the brownie points, all of the style points the rest of the way to try and find themselves in a playoff spot. But yeah, that was crazy. I'm going to go with Texas A&M as my loser of the week, man. You had every opportunity to prove that you were the top dog in the SEC, the number one contender for the SEC title. And listen, you're still in really good shape to go win the SEC, to make the college football playoff and be a national title contender. But that was not it. That performance against South Carolina was not what you were hoping for. And listen, that's going to happen when you've got a young, inexperienced quarterback like Marcel Reed, and the offense just isn't able to find it. But if you can't find more consistent offense than that, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. It doesn't matter how good you run the ball. When South Carolina or a team like Ole Miss or a team like Georgia can get you into obvious passing situations, it's going to be your downfall. So
yeah,
just a good opportunity after a big win the week before to cement yourself, and it just kind of falls flat. But that's the SEC this year. The SEC has been bonkers just like that. Alabama beats Georgia, and then the very next week they go and lose to Vandy. So nobody knows anything about anything this season, and who knows what the SEC title game is going to look like at the end of the year. Cannot wait to find out. The SEC title race is going to be a frenetic. That's one of my favorite words this year. Frenetic. Finish in college football. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that notification bell and that subscribe button over there to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Also check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube as well. Follow me at John 9 Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer.
Sooner.